Hello everyone, welcome to eDufundae. I am your mentor for the topic Gymnosperms from the plant kingdom. So what are gymnosperms? These are the plants in which the ovules are not enclosed by any ovary wall and remain exposed both before and after fertilization. So जब हम gymnosperms की बात करते हैं, so basically they are the seed producing organisms. Now if the seeds are produced, the seeds are naked. That means they do not have a covering. When we are talking about angiosperms, we know there is a fruit inside which is the presence of a seed. So the seeds are there and initially the structure that is there is the flower. They are the flowering plants. But in case of gymnosperms, the seeds do not have any outer covering and they have the naked seeds. So the gymnosperms, the term gymnos means naked and sperma means seeds. So this is a structure of how a gymnosperm looks like. The seeds that develop by the post-fertilization are not covered, that is they are naked. So this is the structure, what it looks like. Gymnosperms are embryophytic, tracheophytic, archegoniate, phanerogams. So the first variety that we did was of the cryptogams, and the cryptogams were the bryophytes, the pteridophytes and the algae. But while we are talking about the phanerogams, these are the organisms that are seed producing organisms and they are embryophytic, that means there will be a stage of embryo in their life cycle. They are tracheophytic, that means they have a proper vascular bundle, as well as archegoniate, and they will have the archegonia, the structure that is the female gametophyte present in the body. These are the various displays of the structures of the gymnosperms. So gymnosperms can be in the form of a normal size tree, it can be very tall in structure, or they can be the shrubs. So here we see the medium sized tree, the tall trees as well as the shrubs. One of the gymnosperms, the giant redwood tree Sequoia, is one of the tallest tree species. So this is the Sequoia tree and it is considered the tallest. Ginkgo is considered to be a living fossil. So the representation of the tree Ginkgo biloba, it is often referred to as a living fossil because it is the only remaining representative of a perished botanical family, that is Ginkgoaceae, and is considered to be the oldest living tree species and hence the living fossil. Further, we will discuss the roots. So the roots are generally the tap roots. Roots in some genera have fungal association in the form of mycorrhiza, such as in Pinus. So mycorrhiza is a fungal association. Basically, the fungus will lead to the formation of the structures, the network of the hyphae, the fungal hyphae, and that is leading to the structure of mycorrhiza. Mycorrhiza are the association between the roots of Pinus tree as well as the fungus, and this fungal association helps in the absorption of the minerals from the soil. So here we can see the taproot system, and here is the association that is of the fungal mycorrhizae. In some plants such as cycas, small specialized roots called as coralloid roots are associated with nitrogen fixing cyanobacteria, the nostoc and anabina. So this is the structure of cycas, and here we can see the association of the nitrogen fixing cyanobacteria, that is either nostoc or anabina, and the roots are the coralloid roots. Stem. The stems are unbranched in cycas, or they can be branched such as in Pinus and Cedrus. So here we can see the structure of cycas in which the stem is unbranched. But in case of Pinus and Cedrus tree, the stems are greatly branched. Anatomically, the stem shows U-stele. And what do we understand by the term U-stele? U-stele refers to the true stele. And true stele से हमारा मतलब है that there will be a typical dicot plant stele that consists of vascular bundle of xylem and phloem strands with the parenchymal cells between the bundles, and that is called as the U-stele. Next we have the leaf. The leaves of the plant, they are simple or compound. So both kind of leaves are found. In cycles, the pinnate leaves persist for a few years. So here we can see ये normal structure हम gardens में भी देखते हैं, indoor plants में भी देखते हैं. That cycles के case में हम देख रहे हैं कि जो leaves हैं, they are pinnately compound leaves and they persist for a few years. The leaves in gymnosperms are well adapted to withstand extremes of temperature, humidity as well as wind. In conifers, the needle-like leaves reduce the surface area. Why reduce the surface area? Basically, when we are talking about conifers, they are very tall trees and they have to face the wind currents, and strong wind currents lead to the high rate of transpiration. So, they have the needle-like leaves to reduce the surface area and hence less transpiration occurs through them. Their thick cuticle and sunken stomata also helps to reduce water loss. The vascular bundles are conjoint, collateral and open. So this is a structure of a vascular bundle that is conjoint, that means the xylem and phloem are present. Collateral, that means there will be the phloem on the outer side and xylem on the inner side, as well as open. There is a presence of cambium for the secondary growth and hence it is called as the open vascular bundle. If the cambium was absent, it would have been a closed vascular bundle that can be seen in the case of monocot plants. Vessels are generally absent in xylem and companion cells are absent in phloem. So gymnosperms के केस में ये एक characteristic feature है vascular bundles का, that the xylem are not having the vessels and the companion cells are not present in the phloem bundles. Secondary growth occurs in the stem and roots. The gymnosperms are heterosporous. They produce the haploid, microspores and megaspores. So first of all, जो इनके spores होते हैं, they are haploid and they are heterosporous. That means the size of the spore will vary. So this is a microspore and here we have the megaspore. The microspore belongs to the male spores and the megaspore is the female one. The two kinds of spores are produced within the sporangia that are borne on the sporophylls, which are arranged spirally along an axis to form compact strobili or cones. So here we can see the structure of the sporophylls and they are the compact structures that are spirally arranged along an axis and they are called as strobili, or in common we call them as cones. The strobili, the singular term is strobilus, bearing microsporophylls, and the microsporangia are called microsporangiate or male strobili. They are similar to a male flower. So this is the structure of a male strobili as well as female strobili. So हम देख सकते हैं जो female strobili वाला structure है वो large है as compared to the male strobili. So this is the anatomical structure of the male strobili, in which we can see the microsporangia present and the bracts. These are the singlets that are microsporangia are present inside those. Next we see the microspores develop into a male gametophytic generation which are highly reduced and is confined to only a limited number of cells. This reduced gametophyte is called as the pollen grain. So जब हम normal angiosperms की बात करते हैं उनमें हम pollen grains का structure पढ़ते हैं. So here also the gametophyte is a pollen grain. So in the structure we see there is the presence of pollen grains, very minute pollen grains inside the microsporangium, and microsporangium, the single structure is the microsporophyll. So Pinus microstrobilus ये पूरा उसका structure है and हम यहाँ पे pollen grains को notice कर सकते हैं. The development of pollen grains takes place within the microsporangia. So pollen grains का जो development होगा, that is quite obvious that it will be inside the structure, that is the microsporangia. The cones bearing megasporophylls with ovules or integumented megasporangia are called as macrosporangiate or female strobili, similar to the female flower. So here again we can see the same structure. The microsporophylls, that means the male, or the megasporophylls, that is the female, may be born on the same tree, that is Pinus, or they can be on the different trees, that is Cycas. So here we can see that on Pinus there is the occurrence of male and female strobili on the same tree. Whereas in case of Cycas, we see that there is the only presence of the female. This is a female plant and this is the male plant. That means the megasporophyll and microsporophylls respectively, and they are on separate plants. The megaspore mother cell is differentiated from one of cells of the nucellus. The nucellus is protected by the envelopes or the integuments, and the composite structure is called as ovule. So here we can see the structure of a ovulated cone, that is there is a ovulate cone and inside it is the presence of the ovule, and the single scale is called as the sporophyll. Whereas the scale section through the ovule we can see over here, in which there is a presence of a megaspore mother cell, and it is covered with the integuments, and there is a pore called as micropyle. So it is similar to the structure of a flower, in which we see the ovary, there is the presence of integuments, and there will be the presence of the micropyle also. So same structure is being observed here. The megaspore mother cell divides meiotically to form 4 megaspores. That means these megaspores will be the haploid structures, because meiosis is going on over here, and they will lead to the formation of the megaspores. Further we see that one of the megaspore enclosed within the megasporangium, that is the nucellus, develops into a multicellular female gametophyte. A multicellular female gametophyte that bears 2 or more archegonia or female sex organs. So जो एक multicellular female gametophyte होगा, उसमें 2 या 2 से ज़्यादा archegonia present होंगी, जिसको हम female sex organs भी बोलते हैं. The multicellular female gametophyte is retained within megasporangium and also called as the endosperm. Gametophytes remain within the sporangia, retained on the sporophytes. The pollen grain is released from the microsporangium, and here we can see that the male gametophyte, that is the pollen grain, is found in the microsporangium. So जो microsporangium वाला structure है, वो एक तरीके से एक home है, एक घर है, किसके लिए? Male gametophytes के लिए. And those male gametophytes, just like the flowering plants, is the pollen grain. The pollination is direct and anemophilous. और anemophilous से हम क्या समझते हैं? That means wind pollination is taking place. So here, this is the anemophilous pollination. In case of these gymnosperms, anemophilous pollination is taking place, and through pollination, the male gametes will be reaching the female gametes. They are carried by the air currents and come in contact with the opening of the ovules born on the megasporophylls. So जो ovules की opening है, जिसके अंदर हमारे पास female gamete present है, वो हमारे पास interact करेगी किसके साथ? The pollen grains, and hence the pollination will take place. Further we see that the pollen tube carrying the male gametes grow towards archegonia in the ovules and discharge the contents near the mouth of archegonia. This is called siphonogamous oogamy, because the discharge of the content is near the mouth of archegonia, and it is through basically the mouth part, and hence it is the siphonogamous oogamy. The cycles show both siphonogamy and zooidogamy, And what is zooidogamy? Because the male gametes are multiciliate but carried by the pollen tube. So if it is being carried by the pollen tube, then it is the zooidogamy. And if it is directly discharged into the mouth of Archegonia, that is the siphonogamy. In others, male gametes are non-motile. So non-motile gametes से हमारा क्या मतलब है? See, oogamy की केस में हमने बोला it is oogamy because the male gamete is the motile one and female gamete is large and immotile. But in some others, we see that the male gametes are non-motile. The zygote develops into an embryo and the ovules into the seeds. These seeds are naked, not covered by any fruit wall, and hence the gymnosperms. So here is the presence of the pinus seed. आप देख सकते हो इस डिस्प्ले में that there is a seed coat, there is the stored food and there is embryo and there is no covering of ovary around it. So this is a seed of pinus. And here we can see the life cycle of the gymnosperm, in which there is an ovulate cone, and that is the cone of the female, whereas the other male cone is also there. Both will have the megasporophyll and microsporophyll. They will further lead to the formation of the gametes, which further form the archegonium, and through the archegonium will be the pollen tube entering inside, and pollen tube के through जब आगे embryo की formation होगी तो हमारे पास एक seedling develop होगा, and उस seedling से हमारे पास again एक mature sporophyte बनेगा. We are calling it as the sporophyte because it leads to the formation of spores. I hope you understood the topic. Thanks for watching.